I'm Brandon C.W. Johnson for Nomad TV, and we are here with a digital nomad from the United States of America, Mr. Cody Myers.
Hey everybody, my name's Cody Myers. I'm from the United States, Texas, and I'm a digital content creator.
First question I would have for you is, what inspired you to become a digital nomad?
Well, ever since I was younger, I have always been curious about the world and other countries, and I used to love to read books about geography and learn about other cultures. And I've just always been a curious person, so I think that's really the main catalyst that made me want to start my journey of traveling. And I also did a big 3-month trip back in 2015 with two of my best friends, and we went to Europe for 3 months, and we saw 22 countries, and it was an incredible experience. So those are some of the main factors that have driven me to travel at this point in my life. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to travel. I think it's the best thing you can do with your time.
The traveling has been a big part of your life for most of your life.
Yeah, I would say most of my adult life I've had the opportunity to travel quite a bit. So
That's absolutely incredible.
yeah.
That leads, of course, to the big question I'm sure folks would have. As a digital nomad, what do you do for work?
So mostly I do content creation, and I also I have my own online business where I sell digital products. So I mostly sell digital products through the TikTok application, and TikTok has just worked pretty well for me. It's a lot easier to get engagement and views on TikTok versus other apps. So I focus on TikTok. I make content for TikTok. Yeah, basically that's what I do. I sell courses and ebooks and other digital products. So
Digital being that you don't actually have to ship out anything.
exactly, there's no physical product. It's basically all a virtual digital product that people will pay me for, basically.
Sounds like you create content for TikTok that leads folks to a digital product, and at any point in time when they interact with that content and a purchase is made, then the income comes. So it can be a form of passive income. Am I understanding correctly?
That's exactly right. The great thing about it is it's passive, and it's a very low time requirement for how much time you have to put into creating the content versus the payout that you get from it. It's a pretty good trade-off because I hardly spend any time making the videos. It takes a minute or two to record the video and maybe 5 minutes to edit the video. It really takes hardly any time, and then I just post it. And just with that little time that I put in, it can turn into some dollars pretty quickly, which is pretty exciting. And it's basically all passive aside from the time that I spend making the video. So
Wow, that's hyper interesting.
yeah.
That leads me to a big question. When it comes to the tools that you use as a digital nomad for your work, what would you say is the most important tool?
So the most important tool, honestly, is my iPhone. The iPhone is a great video camera, and it does its job perfectly for my needs with posting to social media. I also use a microphone sometimes, like these ones that we're using, a little wireless lavalier microphone. And sometimes I'll use like a light, an inflatable little LED light that I carry with me. But that's really pretty much it. And then I just need a friend to film for me sometimes. Or I could just film myself, really. And you can edit on CapCut. It's an app that I have on my phone that's free and really easy to use. So
That is pretty wild to hear, honestly. That's very cool. Traveling for most people feels like a very expensive endeavor. Most people, when they think of traveling, they think of vacation. And the idea of more or less living in a permanent vacation, going on holiday all the time, traveling and living abroad, seems unpractical and unrealistic to most people, especially in the United States. So the question would be, how do you manage your finances? How do you budget yourself on the road?
that's a great question. It's a work in progress all the time because you want to have fun while you're traveling. You want to do things, but you can't do too much because then you'll spend too much, right? So something that's really been helpful for me is actually staying in hostels, and specifically there's an app called Worldpackers, and basically you can travel to any country in the world, and depending on the setup that you have with the management there, sometimes you can stay for free in exchange for doing a little bit of work for them. And that's actually currently what I'm doing here in South Korea at Nomad Live. And yeah, it's incredible. I wish more people knew about it because I think if more people knew about it, then they would travel. Because you can almost live for free, You spend money a little bit on transportation or activities or a little bit of food here and there, or whatever kind of fun you like to have. But it really is it makes traveling very affordable, and that's one of the ways that I budget. Also, I try to limit my spending to like $10 a day for food and all of the costs. It doesn't always happen, but that's the goal that I try to meet. $10 a day for all my costs.
$10 a day. It's about $300 a month on food.
Yeah, food and transportation costs if I can, but sometimes it gets above that amount. But that's the goal that I try to hit, just to be really budget friendly.
Almost sounds, and again, forgive me for putting words in your mouth, it almost sounds cheaper to live the lifestyle of living abroad and traveling full time than it does to live in the United States. I know the cost of rent in the United States on average is about $1,200 to $1,500 per month, and the cost of food definitely exceeds $10 a day.
Definitely, yeah. It's way cheaper to travel for me. I was living in San Diego, California, which is notoriously kind of pricey. And yeah, my rent was $1,400 a month. I was paying about $400 just in gas to drive my truck around. And that's more than what I paid for all my costs here, basically, which is insane, just for gas back home. So
living through Worldpackers, having the experience of sacrificing a little bit of your time as a volunteer in exchange for a free place to live in a community, I mean, I don't think there's a better solution. That's deeply inspiring.
yeah, it's great.
A question I would have for you, we talked a little bit about your experience in San Diego. We haven't really talked about what you did before you became a digital nomad. So if you wouldn't mind, what was your life like before you became a digital nomad?
Yeah, so last year, for the last 4 years, actually, I was in the Marine Corps. I served in the United States military for 4 years, and I was a supply officer. So I did like supply chain management type of work, and manage a budget, manage a property, and then I also managed a platoon of Marines as well. So that was a really great life experience, a pretty challenging and pretty stressful job at times, but I had a great experience. I learned a lot, but I'm definitely happy to be traveling so much now and to experience life as a digital nomad, and it's one of the most fun times of my life I've ever had, so I'm loving it.
Wow, that's quite a difference in lifestyles.
Definitely is extremely different. It's a stark contrast between those two.
Now you're on the road, you're here in South Korea, in Busan. How do you manage relationships? How do you manage communication with your family and your friends that are in the United States when you're constantly moving and living in different places?
Yeah, it's not always very easy because the time change is almost exact opposite. But I try to use social media and like group chats and group messages and stuff like that. That's a really effective way for me to at least reach out and ping people and say hey, and just let people know I'm thinking about them or whatever. But I also try to use FaceTime once a week or once every month or whatever to certain people in my life. But it is definitely a challenge, but it's definitely doable as long as you use technology in the right way that it's meant to be used. So
I'm sure they love hearing from you every time because they're probably living vicariously through you.
yeah, for sure. And I really love getting updates from my family back home, hearing about my nieces and my siblings and what my parents are up to. So, and all my friends too. So yeah, it's great. Wow. It's mutual.
That's fantastic. Yeah. It really is cool. Your lifestyle that we've been discussing, especially coming out of the military, totally different lifestyle than being a digital nomad, your family in the United States. Now you're at a point in life where you're free, you're traveling full time. What advice would you have for someone that might be in the United States that is waking up 9 to 5? They would really love to live this lifestyle, but they don't have any idea where to begin. What advice would you give them?
Well, if you don't have any experience in doing anything like this, you need to educate yourself, right? So the first thing I would say to do, I would recommend getting a travel guide or some kind of travel book. That's a great place to start. Do some reading. Educate yourself on how to travel on a budget, how to travel safely, how to be a minimalist and try to pack light so that you're not overburdened by all the heavy stuff that you're taking with you. Or definitely use YouTube as a resource. I think YouTube is an incredible resource. There's endless content on YouTube about people that travel, and they give a lot of great tips and advice on how to save money and how to travel comfortably as a digital nomad. So that's really the advice I think I'd give.
I think when, especially as an American, I can kind of get in the mindset of what we're talking about here in terms of becoming a minimalist.
Yeah.
It's not an easy lifestyle to adopt in becoming a minimalist. So I'm sure that someone who is in the United States or maybe in some other country and they have an apartment, they might have a house, and over time they collect all this stuff. It's probably an impractical concept to just take what you have, put it into a backpack, and hit the highway. What would be your advice in really how to pack to become a digital nomad? What are the essentials that you need for this lifestyle?
That's a great question. I think it's probably different for everybody, but you need the basics. You need a certain number of changes of underwear. You need a change of socks every day. So whatever that looks like for you, I think having 7 pairs of undies, 7 pairs of socks is a good place to start. You need at least one pair of pants, maybe 2 if you feel like it. A few pairs of shorts, and handful of t-shirts, maybe 5 t-shirts, and some long sleeve shirts, and 1 or 2 good jackets. So yeah, that's the most important thing. Just for staying hygienic and having changes of clothes, so you don't have to do laundry every single day. That's what I'd recommend. You could always minimize it and do fewer pairs of everything. It just depends on what you're comfortable with and how you like to travel. But that's what I'd recommend. I'd recommend at least a pair of tennis shoes. That's the very minimum. If you want to just have 1 pair of shoes, have a pair of tennis shoes. But yeah, that's what I'd say. That's the best advice I could give for like how to pack minimally. But less is more, really. So you could always get rid of stuff, and if you desperately need something while you're on the road, you can go buy it somewhere.
How has traveling and becoming a digital nomad changed your view of this world?
I really think that the more you travel, the bigger the world gets. You see all the little intricacies of every culture, and you find the little cool neighborhoods in every place, or the little spots out in nature that are just amazing, and you want to explore them more and spend more time there. So it feels like you have less time, kind of, in that way, the more that you travel, which is really exciting. I think another thing about what I've learned through traveling is that most people in the world are good, and it's made me more optimistic. And the more people that I meet, the more I'm inspired and just reminded that we don't need to be so afraid all the time. We can trust each other, and we have to get by. So it's very it's a very hopeful thing to travel, because it makes you feel happier, it makes you feel more open to other people, and it makes you just feel more at peace with life, I think, really. So yeah, those are some of the main things that I feel like I've learned.
That's wonderful, especially when you say the more you travel, the bigger the world gets. I mean, here we are in South Korea. Most people think of Seoul. When they think of South Korea, they don't really think of Busan, but this city is so beautiful. And as a community at Nomad Live, it brings people together from all parts of the world, and we get to experience this city together. And you're right, there's little parts of the town that we just haven't even seen yet right around us. So you're absolutely right. Thank you for sharing that. That is really deeply inspiring.
Absolutely.
If it's all right, I'd like to ask you one final question.
Perfect.
It's a question I ask every traveler. What is your favorite country and why?
But that's super hard. I think I've been to over 40 countries now. I don't know. I've loved almost all of them for different reasons, but I think I would have to pick France. That might be controversial for some people, but I think France is a beautiful country. It has so many different areas with different types of geography, and it's just stunningly beautiful. And the food's amazing. And French people are extremely intelligent and hospitable and kind. That's been my experience. I think I've heard other people say otherwise, but I completely disagree. I think French people are amazing, and yeah, they're just super intelligent, honestly, in my experience, and very well spoken, and they have big hearts, and they're always willing to talk to you and help you out, which I really appreciate. So I'd say France.
I totally agree. You have a favorite region or town or city in France that you love?
I love the French Riviera. I've been to Marseille, which was amazing, and I've been to some of the French Alps, little villages in the French Alps, Chamonix and Briançon. Those were amazing little towns and so beautiful and amazing. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, Cody, thank you very, very much. I've learned from you. I've been inspired by you, and I'm excited to learn more about you.